I must say, for Sexyy Red to respond in this type of way, I look at her in a completely different light, and we need to talk about why folks have an issue with what Bernice King said. Let's talk about it.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck
on. What's going on, you all? I want to talk about the Bernice King tweet and Sexyy Red. For those who do not know, Sexyy Red posted a AI image of her and Martin Luther King, and Bernice King responded and basically said, "Hey girl, I'm gonna need you to take this down. This is disgusting. I ain't feeling it. This is intentionally distasteful, dishonoring, deplorable, and disrespectful to my family and my father, who is not here to respond himself because he was assassinated for working for your civil and human rights and to end war and poverty. Please delete." And you know what? It was straight to the point. She wasn't with the rah-rah. She just said, hey, this is deplorable. This is dishonoring. Like, this person, my father, was fighting for rights for black folks, point blank, period. And to post a picture like this on the weekend that is celebrating him and his legacy and the things that he visioned in this type of way is disgusting. And to be honest, Bernice King has been consistently saying this for years. Every year. I don't know why folks choose to post these pictures and these images online like that. I really just don't understand it, to be honest. What is the reason for it? And y'all know me. I'm not one of those folks to be on that, oh, this is sacred. I am not that. Y'all know how I feel about that. I've said it time and time again. But again, she iterated that this man, my father, was fighting for rights for you. And this is how you're honoring him with this type of mess. First of all, to even use AI in this type of way, when we know how much energy and resources are used to create these BS images, you're burning through gallons of water for this BS image for what? What do you get at the end of the day? Now, Sexyy Red responded and said, "You ain't wrong. Never meant to disrespect your family. My apologies. Just reposted something I saw that I thought was innocent." And she deleted it. I have so much respect for Sexyy Red after this. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I've been very critical of Sexyy Red, but I think in this moment, for her to acknowledge that she was wrong and say, hey, I just thought it was innocent, but I respect what you're saying, eats for me, because in this day and age where people can be extremely reactionary when folks are critical of them, especially celebrities, when a lot of folks are coming at you, folks be jumping out and just, I'm not doing that. I can do it. Like, I've been there before. This shows me that Sexyy Red might be maturing as a human being first. And she may say something ignorant next month or next year or tomorrow or while I'm even recording this. But I have to remember that she is human. And in this moment, she showed humility, and I can appreciate it. I do want to get into some of the responses on Sexyy Red. People were arguing, saying that Sexyy Red is ghetto trash and all of these things, disrespectful stuff about her, just being elitist, classist, all of the things, and their critique of her. And what do you expect? This is Sexyy Red. She's ghetto trash and da-da-da. It's just, I'm not understanding how you're saying this to defend Bernice King and Martin Luther King when Martin Luther King was advocating for poor black folks. He was advocating for every black person, specifically poor black folks. So to see black folks jump out with the classist analysis on her and just saying disgusting things about her because they don't see her as a person because she is quote unquote ghetto, it just shows you honestly what a lot of folks think is important, that it is the performance of it all. A lot of the things are very performative, and to see this conversation happening, given what just happened a couple of days ago, the city of Atlanta is responsible for a person's life trying to clean up an encampment for the celebration of Martin Luther King weekend and a parade, and a person losing their life it's deplorable to me. It's just deplorable, and just a reminder of how often we get caught up in the performance of it all. the performance of it all and don't remember what these things were about. This was about protecting the rights of black folks, whether they were rich or poor or whatever. It wasn't about becoming a rich business person and owning capital and all of that. It was about really social things, that these folks deserve these things no matter what. And I feel like a lot of us have lost sight of that. And we see that. We don't think that we can make a quote unquote difference, but we can, just changing our ideology and how we see black folks, how we see poor black folks. And sometimes I get really disgusted in the conversations like this because the elitism jumps out. Like, people don't think that she is a person because she is not quote unquote professional. And I just, we got a lot of work to do around that. You saw also people say that, why did Bernice King jump to critique Sexyy Red when people do this each and every year? Like, why is Sexyy Red so important to go off on? She only did that because she don't look at her like she looks at the other folks, like she don't value her. Folks were saying that. And again, Bernice King has said this each and every year. Imagine your father being slain, and you're having to see people use images of them in a joking manner. For folks who are always protective of people who have passed away and people's legacy, and you don't critique the dead or all of that, I don't see how folks don't understand how this falls into that wheelhouse. You're not only burning through gallons and gallons of water to create this stupid image, this AI image, for what? What does it serve? What do we get out of that? What do we get out of playing the meme? What do we get out of being the butt of the joke? What is that? I think we really need to look into why we do things like this. And again, I'm not one of those folks that believe in, everything is sacred, you just don't touch it. I'm not that. But I think when it comes to this and all of the things that Martin Luther King stood for, and just his vision of a better world for black folks, and how he lost his life, I just don't understand why it is necessary to do these MLK parties each and every year with flyers like this. And to be honest, I don't want to get into the weeds of the quote unquote professionalism and, y'all don't do nothing but get drunk, MLK weekend, that's all y'all do, that's all y'all care about, that's all y'all do, because that's the conversation. And it's, if people choose that weekend to enjoy themselves, let them do that. Let them do that. I don't have an issue with folks taking time to enjoy themselves on federal holidays and choosing how to celebrate how they want. I don't think it makes them good or bad. I just think it makes a thing, because there is no quote unquote right or wrong way to celebrate. You can't tell me what I can and cannot do with this thing. But I think, again, the elitism jumps out when folks jump into these discussions, because if folks are partying and enjoying themselves and drinking, what is the difference between other folks who are drinking champagne and celebrating and having dinners with wine? I just don't get it. It's because it's specific type of music playing and this image that you have of black folks who are not performing respectability. Is that what's going on? There was a lot of conversations happening online, and I appreciate some of the conversations. I've learned a lot how folks were speaking on Martin Luther King and his legacy and what he stood for, social issues, socialism, all of these things, protecting black folks, their rights, poor black folks, and the conversation about the bourgeoisie. People came out to criticize Martin Luther King and say that he was a member of the bourgeoisie, and people came out and said he came from a known family, a little bit of coin, but his views on black folks, poor black folks, was not that. I appreciated that critique of, you can be in a better financial situation or whatever, but how you look at folks, what your politic is around black folks, every black person, specifically poor black folks, folks who do not have that much, is important. The importance of it all is how do you view black folks? And what is your politic around black folks? All black folks. I'm not going to hold you. I appreciated that critique and that conversation because I am more worried about how you view black folks versus where you come from. I do think that folks who do come from money sometimes, you know, they do not care about folks who do not have. But there are some folks who grew up in poverty, and once they do get access to the money, come on, sweet tea, their politics were never good to begin with. I also enjoyed the conversation online about how all of our ancestors did not care about or want the liberation of black folks. Some of our ancestors were coons. And that sat with me because I'm like, okay, because there are some folks here now that do not care about the well-being of black folks. So yeah, like black people are not a monolith. So that means that our ancestors are not a monolith either. Some ancestors were bootlickers. You know, some of these people existed. So it made me rethink of how to have conversations about that. This is the part of social media that I really enjoy, the conversations, people who are well-read and understanding of these things. And even on Martin Luther King's legacy, to be able to share that information with us and make me want to do more work in understanding these things. Because yes, Martin Luther King's legacy has been, you know, watered down completely. Like, oh, it's not about these things. But Martin Luther King stood for a lot of stuff, and we don't see conversations about that too much. And white people have used that to their advantage over the years. And you know, even the conversation of, oh, he passed or he was unalive because of that. It's like, no, he was unalive. Like a white person took him out. Period. So yeah, I appreciated this thing. I don't think Bernice King was wrong for saying this. Now, some folks tapped on Bernice King's shoulder and said, hey, sister, I'm glad that you're getting your tens and your, you know, apologies and stuff, but we need to know what your thoughts is around LGBTQ rights because, yeah, sister, you got a little bit of a history too. And I don't think folks are wrong for that. I don't think people are wrong to ask, okay, what is your thoughts about this thing that you were a part of back in 2004? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Because we want to know, because you made these black folks feel a certain type of way. And the critique is legit because there is no rights, civil rights, or any liberation for black folks without queer people, without trans folks, without people with disabilities and all of the things. If we don't include these folks in the conversation, then we're doomed. Point blank, period. Enjoyed it. I hope y'all took something from this. I hope that Sexyy Red continues to offer us more humility because, sister, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't been feeling you. But, you know, I enjoyed this. But tell me y'all thoughts. Let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.